Hello, welcome to this session on active learning, what and why. We will be seeing an introduction to active learning by Dr. B. Annette, which is myself, and Dr. Sujata, my colleague from MAM College of Engineering and Technology, Trichy. The learning objectives. After going through this lesson, you will be able to describe what is active learning and explain the need for active learning and summarize the types of active learning strategies. Let's start with a reflection point. I want you to take a notebook and write down the answers to the questions found in the slide. How do traditionally teachers teach in classrooms? Take a minute to reflect on how your teachers taught you and answer the following questions. What are the advantages and disadvantages of lecturing in class? What percentage of time were you both mentally and physically present in the class during a lecture? I want you to pause the video, write the answers and resume with the video. Traditional teaching, if you take, has its basis with lecturing. Lecturing focuses on the teacher, the performance of the teacher, how much the teacher had prepared and what is the delivery. The teachers talk and the students listen and they take notes. Teachers are active while students are passive. In lecturing, it is only the teachers who are active while students just take notes and listen to what is going on. So, what is the disadvantage of this? Ancient philosophers, they have given certain views. Confucius, he says, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I am able to recall. But when I do, I understand. When the student is engaged in the activity, he or she is able to understand. Socrates says, I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. Teaching is not possible without making the learner think. The learner has to think. The learner has to be engaged in the process of teaching. Only then learning will happen. So this is the basis for active learning. So active learning, we move from teacher-centered instruction to student-centered instruction. Here, students do more than just listen. They read, they write, they discuss and are engaged in solving problems. So, students engage in higher order thinking skills of the Bloom's taxonomy like analysis, synthesis and evaluation. In a normal lecture, students are able to just recall, remember what they heard or maybe understand. But are all of them able to understand? Do all of them discuss? Are they engaged? So what is active learning? This is defined as any instructional method that engages the students in the learning process. So students have to be engaged and they are involved in doing things and they think about what they are doing. Not just mechanically being physically present but mentally absent. But students are involved in doing things and thinking about. Only then we say active learning happens. What are the features of active learning strategies? Meltzer and Thornton in the resource letter, they have given some features. First, they say instruction is informed and guided by research. That is, based on certain strategies or methods which we use in class, we are able to implement active learning in the class. And student ideas are drawn out. Their thinking is provoked. And students are asked to figure things out for themselves by discussing among one another, by talking out, by engaging in problem solving activities during class time. Normally, students do problem solving out of the class. In the class, they are normally given some information and we give an assignment as a problem. But instead, here, problem solving is done during class time. Students are asked to express their reasoning explicitly. They talk, they listen, they read, they write. So they work together in small groups, in pairs or 3 to 4 members in a group, and they receive rapid feedback on their working from the teacher who moves around. So what happens is qualitative reasoning and conceptual thinking is given importance, and problems are posed in a wide variety of contexts and representation. That is, real life problems are posed and students are able to think and to answer based on that, and that happens only during active learning. So what are the requirements of active learning strategy? Let's say you're a teacher, you want to implement it, then you have to create carefully designed activity. You can't just say I ask a question and student answers it and that means students are involved. No. One question which is carefully planned in such a way that it involves everybody, all the students, to talk, to write, to reflect and to express their thinking. So it goes beyond just listening and copying, and this is based on the theories of learning, and this is supported by research. Research says that when we have carefully designed activities which make students to talk, write, reflect and express their thinking, it engages the student. What is the evidence for active learning? There is plenty of research which is going on, and I've mentioned 3 important research. Freeman, he has conducted a meta-analysis of 225 studies, and they have concluded that active learning increases student performance. Michael, he says it works in many disciplines, not just science, but cognitive psychology, educational psychology. And Prince, he has also found out in engineering how active learning is useful. There are plenty of evidence for active learning. So now I want you to take a minute to reflect on the features and the characteristics of active learning. Have you used active learning in your teaching, where every student was engaged, not just the students who are outgoing, everybody? If yes, what type of active learning strategy have you used before? If no, what type are you planning to use? I want to think on this, reflect and write down in the notebook which you have. And then you can resume the video. Let's see some examples of active learning strategies. Debates, structured debates are examples. Role play for the students. Think, pair and share methodology. You make the students think alone, then along with their classmate, 2 together, and then they share what they have thought about and discussed about. Peer instruction, where students learn from one another, not just from the teacher. The students who have learnt teach those who have not learnt, convince them, talk to one another and learn. That is peer instruction. Then team, pair and solo. It's just the reverse of think, pair, share. And then you have jigsaw, where people work in groups and do things. In-class worksheets, beach ball strategy, just-in-time teaching, problem-based or case-based, where you give a case to the students and ask them to solve it and come out with their ideas. Collaborative or group work, you give them group work in class, make them do it. Conceptual change strategies, inquiry-based learning, discovery learning, technology-enhanced learning. There are lots of active learning strategies. So, it is necessary that we should start using these active learning strategies in our teaching process so that we can move from teacher-centric to student-centric. So, moving from teacher-centric to student-centric requires us to involve in active learning so that students are engaged. They read, they write, they discuss, and they are engaged in solving the problems. Thank you for your patient listening.